Broadcasting.
All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock hour, 4:25. Craig's off the radar in the next segment. Baylor, Kansas State tonight. Epic game last night in Lawrence. We've covered that. Jim Grove, a part of the College Football Playoff Committee. Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. And a lot to get to, but how about that, Mack, with Jim Grove being a part of the College Football Playoff Committee? That was announced today.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned it, and we're starting the segment with that because I was going to mention it. I texted Coach and just happy for him, and I think in my text message to him is they couldn't have selected anyone better, and one of the blessings that I've had coming to Baylor is the opportunity to work with Coach and to spend those 5-6 months with him and for us to have developed a friendship, and he is one that we continue to stay in touch regularly, and just think the world of him, and what a great selection. Like I said, I can't imagine anyone being better for that committee. So great job by the CFP.
Mack, just on my perspective on Coach Grove, he's a person that doesn't have agendas. So to me, that would be exactly the kind of person you want on a committee.
Yeah, Paul, I think you hit the nail right on the head. He doesn't have agendas. He's always going to be thoughtful and straight with you. He's not going to tell you things that you want to hear. He's going to tell you things that you need to hear. Obviously, he's got great wisdom. He is standing the test of time, and I mean that in a very, very positive way. He's just a very smart and thoughtful, wise person, and a class act as all of the Baylor family knows and understands.
Mack, you were at the NCAA convention. We had President Livingstone on Friday afternoon to kind of give us her take as well. And obviously there was the vote about the legislation and what is moving towards separate Division I, II, and III when it comes to whatever they can do. Is it one thing that they're actually doing this? Do you think they'll ever get it done? Because it seems like a lot of times these things get tied up and nothing ever goes to the next level of actually getting done.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question, Smoak, and I think we're about to find out, right? I think over the next 12 months, where does the transformation committee land? I certainly have great respect for Commissioner Sankey and Julie, who are co-chairing that, so I'm looking forward to it, and how do we how do we land this plane? What is it going to look like? There's so many things right now that are in the space that we're having to deal with when you think about, obviously name, image, and likeness, and transfer portal, and Alston, and so how all of that plays out in this is intriguing and certainly interesting for me. We're going through an exercise right now with our executive team. If we were in charge, how would we land this plane? And so it's brought on a lot of really, really good conversation. I think, the biggest issue is or I shouldn't say the biggest issue, but one of the most significant issues is how are we going to treat football? How are we going to treat football? Right now, as we all know, the NCAA runs the FCS championships. They do not the FBS. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where they will. But how does the NCAA, how does Division I, navigate FBS, and what does that look like? And are there tiers within it? Does it all remain 129 the same? Enforcement, admissions, all of those things, student athlete benefits. So that's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays out. And I think the great thing is where Baylor is going to have a voice in that.
Mack, one of the things that Dr. Livingstone said to us last week was that when it comes to punishing rule breakers and dealing with certain things, there's very clear language in the new Constitution that says, look, there are certain things that the NCAA does not have jurisdiction over. So now there's no wondering why those things are not dealt with from the NCAA. And the other thing was a little more unclear is when the rules are there going to be mechanisms in place to punish people who break those new rules? Because right now, part of the problem is the NCAA can't seem to really punish anybody for anything they've done wrong.
Yeah, I think that I think you're right. I think novel concept, and there is just a hint of sarcasm in there, but novel concept that we punish the people that actually break the rules, and we haven't done that. I'm not going to say 100% across the board we haven't, but we tend to do a really good job of punishing those that had nothing to do with it, and so whatever rules are out there and that the NCAA is going to enforce, we need to get to a better place in terms of who we're holding accountable and who we're not holding accountable.
Mack, what would you say was the biggest topic that wasn't necessarily officially on the, I mean, it seems like most of it surrounded, legislation, things like that, but what would you say is kind of the biggest topic in small talking around with others?
Yeah, it's not even close. If there's 10 conversations, I guarantee you 9 of them is about the intersection of the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, and where this is headed very, very quick. And are there any ways, solutions, ideas to curb it other than potential federal legislation? Because I don't think any of us believe that that's going to happen anytime soon, probably after the midterms. And so you're 14 months or more away from that. And so, how do we wrap our hands around that? And so that's, Craig, that consumed the conversation.
Mack, it seems to me, at least from what I remember, the NIL was supposed to be about once you got on campus of what you could represent, endorse, whatever, to make some money, name, image, likeness. But it also seems to be that it's almost pretty obvious that some are using it even as an inducement. Was that discussed? I mean, now you kind of mentioned that, but there's some pretty obvious situations or scenarios here.
Yeah, and I, look, let me be clear, not across the board for all sport programs, but I think you can certainly primarily focus on football and some with men's basketball. But let's be real. It's name, image, and likeness has now become a recruiting enticement, and that wasn't the initial reason for it, as you talked about, smokers, or you said more eloquently than I have, but that's where we're at, and I don't know, how we necessarily, put that genie back in the bottle. I don't know that you can, but that's all of the conversation that's going on ad nauseum. I mean, that's all everybody's talking about.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
How do you reverse course? I mean, can you?
Yeah, I don't. It's a great question. How do you reverse course? How do you do that without antitrust lawsuits and things of that nature? I'm certainly not an attorney, but like I'm not ready to throw our hands up and just say there's nothing we can do. I do think there's some things that we can curb. I think we all need to sit down and say, hey, what can we tolerate? Where do we draw that line? And I think it starts there. And if none of us have a stomach for, this, past wherever we draw that line, then we need to come up with some ways to say, hey, we need to stop. We need to stop going there. Now, the NCAA has done that a little bit. As we know, there's some name, image, and likeness programs out there that they're looking into and they're exploring. But I think we need to probably be more aggressive in that area.
Mack, when we talked to you last week, both basketball programs were in the midst of a little bit of losing. But since we talked to you, the men went and beat West Virginia in Morgantown and beat Oklahoma in Norman. And, of course, the women, they're riding a 3-game winning streak. The wins over Oklahoma State and then the big one over number 7 Iowa State on Sunday. Your thoughts on just a little bit of a bounce-back week? And obviously it's a roller coaster. It goes up and down, but pretty good week in hoops for you guys.
Yeah, it has been. I appreciate you mentioning that, Craig. And basketball is a long season, and there's some ebbs and flows. And I think with one of the programs, men's basketball, right, we've experienced some injury, and young men fighting through that, and just proud of the way they bounce back. And as you mentioned, Morgantown is not an easy place to go into and win a game when you're down a couple starters, and then being able to go into Oklahoma again. There's no gimmies in this league. It's crazy. There's not one that you can sit and go, okay, that's a W. We can circle that. That's a foregone conclusion. So, proud of them, and we've got a fight on our hands tonight. When you think about Kansas State and the 2 consecutive wins that they had, and then almost beating Kansas. Kansas obviously had a great comeback. I think they were down 16, but it's a tough league, and so we've got to be sharp tonight, and then, hey, guess what? Then we get to go and play a really, really athletic and talented team, Alabama at their place on Saturday as part of the Big 12 SEC Challenge. And then, women's basketball, I think, that's a program with obviously coaching transition, and we knew it was going to take some time, but you're starting to see some confidence. Our young ladies playing at a higher level, and for coach for her to get her first win on versus a top 10 ranked team, I thought that was a huge win over Iowa State, and again, I think that just kind of galvanizes that team and builds some confidence and helps them and trajects them to continue to get better. And again, not easy, because we head to Lubbock, to play Texas Tech tomorrow, and then have to go to Morgantown on Saturday. And I will say this about Big 12 women's basketball. I've been here now 5 years. It's by far the most competitive not even close, that I've seen it just across the board since I've been here. So, kudos to the Big 12 and women's basketball, because it's getting better across the board.
Mack, how much do you think, and I was in the post game with Queen Egbo, who had a huge game, and obviously with Jordan Lewis, who did as well. And both of them started talking about coaching and what not just Nikki, but the staff and what they've been through, and hearing some of the chirping, and even Nikki. But I thought, and TL, who was at ESPN Plus, who's doing the series on ESPN Plus, said that she even maybe saw, not to be too dramatic here, that maybe Nikki had a little bit of a glimmer of a tear when one or both players started talking about how much they're all in with this staff and what that win meant.
Yeah, I thought, for a lot of different reasons, it was a big win, and I know it meant a lot to Nikki, and maybe it was just confirmation that the team has bought in. I think it was probably good for her to hear, her players publicly, say, look, what our coaches do, what head coach Nikki does, is tremendous. And, there's no doubt that Nikki can X and O it with the best of them. There's no doubt in my mind, but that's just one piece of it. The probably the larger piece is just the togetherness, the building of culture, and bringing people together, one common cause, and that doesn't happen overnight, and that's not meant to make excuses, but that's the reality and the truth of it. And so I think, probably the win against Iowa State was just a sign of another step in the right direction. And here's what I do know. I do know that those young women that put on the Baylor uniform will run through a brick wall for her, because they believe in her as a coach and as a person.
Mack, one more thing. You and we on this show with Paul and Craig, as well as we've discussed as the season was progressing, about Dave Aranda and his future. And then you guys had the success he did, the football team did. And I know you have been working on some of the details. How close do you think that now might be? Because it's always been something, and for a good reason, because you had this Big 12 championship game. That's great. Then the Sugar Bowl. That's great. National Signing Day in between. How close do you feel like you are with that at least being announced?
Without giving away a secret, I would say close. I would say stay tuned. The Baylor family could hear something publicly here very, very soon.
What's the definition, in your opinion, of soon?
That I will not define.
It's before later, but not after
right
never.
now.
Yeah,
it's between now and when he announces it.
Yeah.
You could hear the pride in your voice on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Matt.
No, we're in a great place, and there'll be good news soon. So
thank you very much, Mack. Appreciate it. I know he's so annoyed when I keep asking him that question. The definition of soon in the dictionary.
Yeah, but I get it, though, because, he did say like 3-4 weeks ago, hey, we're expecting something right after the bowl game. And then, the bowl game was 24 days ago. And he said it before then. So 24 days have passed since the bowl game. That's not, a short amount of time. So I understand why I'll tell you why, especially with all these NFL jobs opening up. I'll get to the number of head coaching vacancies, but, I don't know what Aranda's dreams are. And, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a college lifer, but I just think, when you're as popular as he is right now and as well respected as he is right now, anytime you see any notable jobs pop up, much less 9 NFL jobs, and then, you just got done with all the coaching jobs opening up and closing. Now, those might open back up again because some might go to the NFL.
Sure.
So, if Matt Campbell left Iowa State, that means nothing. Like, Dave Aranda's not going to Ames. But, if Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan, then that could create a whole domino effect. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan wanted to talk to Dave Aranda quite. You know what I'm saying? So
who wouldn't? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's initially when people don't hear it for like 2 days, it's kind of dumb to be like, well, where's the announcement? Because people just can't be patient for anything. But when it's been 24 days, then that's a whole different thing.
And then one of the things that also, and I'll tell you this, and this is just me kind of doing a little bit of that background on this, is that Dave Aranda is restructuring the personnel department along with the football program itself. And it's something that it's very important to him, as it would be with any head coach. And so that's one of the things I love about him, and I really do. It's not about him. With him, it's absolutely not about him. That doesn't mean there won't be a new deal. And again, as Mack Rhoades just said, very close soon, like very soon. It's not like that is on his front doorstep as far as how important it is, but it's going to happen. And I said back before they played Tech it was going to happen, and you're right, several weeks have gone by, but little things, not so much have gotten in the way, but little things have been good because they've also been in the way between now and then. We agree?
Yeah, I don't think that he wakes up every day and his first thing's like, well, I got to get Dave Aranda's contract done, and then he goes home and he's like, well, tomorrow I got to make sure. There's other things going on. Obviously.
And Mack has said from the beginning, since we did bring it up back at the end of the week of, I guess before Texas Tech, that it was a matter of time. And I know that it can be a message board thing. Hey, when's it going to happen? Because it some time has lapsed.
Look how long it took to get Gary Patterson official at Texas.
Yeah,
how many weeks was that going on? We knew it the entire time, but it still wasn't official until it was official. And I haven't worried about Aranda one iota. The more this dragged on, it hasn't changed my opinion at all. But I understand why people, started to get a little bit nervous about it potentially.
And you shouldn't be, and I hope that's what you haven't been, but at the same time, it's good to hear Mack say the word soon, maybe even imminent, as far as Dave Aranda, the new deal. And there might be much more involved in that, not just his deal, but also that among others on his staff as well. It's 4:48, Craig, and Off the Radar. Next, Sikkim 360.